Yeah, just want to start by acknowledging former First Lady of Texas A&M football, Reveille Nine, who passed away recently. She served as the active mascot from 2015 to 2021, and obviously very aware of how much that means, not only to the football program, but to the university. And so would be remiss to not start with that. Excited for this week, Blackout back at Kyle Field, so love for the fans to come out donning the all black like we did last year. Thought we created an unbelievable atmosphere in Kyle Field last year when we did that, and so wanted to repeat that. And so looking forward to that. I kind of wore the all black today to try to set that off the right way. Appreciate the Yankees shirt in the back. Can't stand the Red Sox hat in the front as we get going into the MLB playoffs. It'll be a great series starting Tuesday night in the Bronx. And then just looking back on Auburn, just kind of starting with players of the week. Scout team offense was Luke Braden. On defense, it was Tommy Colligan. And special teams player of the week was Jesse Chukwu. Lineman of the week, offensively, we went with Demetrius Crownover. I thought that was his most complete game since we've been here. I thought he played really physical in the run game, did a really good job in the protection. Was one of the few kids who I didn't agree with the penalty, and so there wasn't a lot of options if you eliminated penalty guys on the offensive line, but I thought he played a really, really good game. Defensively, DJ Hicks continues to make really big plays. I thought that sack he had in the first quarter on the short field was one of the biggest plays in the game, so it was great to see him do that. Our players of the week, offensively, obviously Le'Veon Moss. Thought he carried the load for us on offense, had a really, really good day running the football against a really strong rushing defense. Defensively was Taurean York. Just made a ton of key big plays throughout the course of that game, and felt like every time we needed one, he was the one making it. And then our special teams player of the week, and this one deserves a little bit of a shout out, is Jared Kerr. And I just think anytime we can acknowledge kids in this program who are giving everything they have for Texas A&M football, maybe not exactly in the role that they hope for. Jared's a fourth-year player, I'm sure would love to be the starting safety, and in a lot of programs probably could be the starting safety, and has decided to stick it out with us to be an Aggie and to contribute, and really does a really phenomenal job playing for us on all four units. And so when we looked at the film, I think it played out exactly like we talked about it. I think defensively we played really, really well. I don't think there were a lot of things when you went back and watched the tape where you said, last year there were times where you would watch the tape and there'd be 4, 5, 6 plays where you're like, oh, thank God they didn't find him or they didn't see him. The tape was clean. I thought we did a really, really good job leveraging and defending them. I think that showed in the stats and the results. Was really proud of how we played the fourth quarter. When they got the lead, they got the score and got it down to 13-10. They never got another first down. I thought that was just a tribute to the character of the team and the group, and so that was exciting. Offensively, we moved the ball well. We were efficient. We made 15 explosive plays. We threw the ball well. We were 15 of 22. We just had too many penalties. And penalties kill drives, and we had too many penalties kill explosive plays, kill drives, kill our rhythm, and just ultimately kill our ability to score. And so it's a problem. It's something that we have to get fixed and addressed. It was a very, very strong point of our meetings this morning, and we won't continue to win games if we don't solve that problem. And so that's Auburn. Moving on to Mississippi State. Excited to be back at home in Kyle Field, excited to play another really talented SEC football team, and I'm sure Kyle Field will be rocking Saturday night, and so just excited to get back at it. From there, we'll open it up to questions.
Coach, second row, Olin.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to be like Mark Passwaters and ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Hey, why don't we just make this the OB press conference?
I was looking it up, and I think it's pretty obvious, but since the, first play of the second half against UTSA in the opener, you guys have, I think, given up like 2.5 yards a carry. The run defense has been so well. Without asking for state secrets, can you reveal what the reason why y'all have gotten so much better in run defense?
Yeah, I think so. This is what I think happens. I think, the standard reaction to poor rush defense is always the D-line isn't good enough, and sometimes that's the case. But For us, that hasn't been. Like, we are firm, we are strong against the run, we hold the point well. What we've had troubles with really since I've been here has been leveraging the football. And that has presented itself in a lot of different ways, whether that's perimeter run game, cracks on the perimeter, getting the ball outside. Sometimes it's our defensive line edges not holding the edge properly. We have gotten beat to the perimeter more than like probably at any point in my career as a defensive coordinator over these 15 months. It has been a constant conversation, emphasis, drill work, everything we can to fix it. I think over the last however many games, we've done a little better job at that. It still reared up a little bit in the Notre Dame game, although I don't think it was quite as bad as it was a year ago against Notre Dame and allowing the breakout runs down the sideline. But if we can keep the ball inside of us, we have a shot. And I think when we do that, the run averages are what they should be. When we don't, we tend to give up the 16s, the 18s, the 40s, the 50s, and then all of a sudden you're giving up 6.5 a carry, and it looks like you have a poor run defense. That's really been the story since I got back. And again, there's a lot of things we're doing to try to fix it. At the end of the day, it's got to show up on the field. It did Saturday. Hopefully it continues to do so.
It seemed like Taurean might have had the best game of his career at A&M the other day. What does he do? What makes him different?
Yeah, I think and I've said this before, like I think he's a throwback in terms of his knowledge of the game, how much he studies the game, his instincts for the game. And so his play speed is so fast, and his ability to read and diagnose things is so fast. And so, like, the perfect comparison, because I was here with both of them, like, you had Edger and Cooper, who probably had a little bit more natural athleticism. You would watch him see plays and maybe not see him quite the fastest, but when he triggered and went, like, it was like, whoa. Taurean's the other way. Like, Taurean triggers almost sometimes before the play even unfolds. Like, you saw that on the tight end screen. Like, before the tight end even knew he was running the screen, Taurean did. And he tracks him down and he gets put through the lineman. And all of a sudden, before the play can ever get going, Taurean's there. And that's what he has done really, really well since I've been here. And, you know, I wouldn't even say it's his best game, because I think he did that a lot towards the back half of last year too, when he started to get real comfortable with the system. And so I think that's what he brings. I think that's how come he plays the way he does.
Coach to the left, Aaron.
Hey, Coach, I also got two for you. First, just what have you seen from Mississippi State this year, and how do you think that Jeff Lebby's turned the team around from last year?
Yeah, obviously it's another SEC game. They're an extremely talented team. I think Jeff is a phenomenal offensive coach. I think they do a really, really good job testing you. They'll stretch you sideline to sideline. They stretch you horizontally. They stretch you vertically. They run a spread offense, but they're really physical in how they run the football. I think that's the thing that not a lot of people talk about with that offense, is how committed they are and how much they want to run the football well. And they do that really good. And you can see, like, one of the things as a head coach that you watch kind of like sideline energy, sideline engagement, sideline interaction on the film. And they're an extremely energetic group, which means they've got a lot of confidence in the program and what they're doing. And I'm sure they're going to come in here and play their absolute best football Saturday night.
And has Mario opened up to you about facing his former team and what it means to him?
No, try not to make a big deal about that. You know, just another game for him.
Coach front right, Travis.
Hey, Mike. I know third down's always been a hallmark of your defenses. Why have y'all been able to be so good this year?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like we've been great all year, to be honest with you. Obviously, we were Saturday. I think there's been times where we've been good, times where the execution maybe hasn't been what we wanted it to be. I just think it's always a down that we've put a real premium on, and everybody says that. But, like, we emphasize it a lot. We spend a lot of time on it. I enjoy it probably more than I do any other part of the game, and so maybe just personally I get a little bit more excited when it's time to come up with the third down game plan. I just think you have a little bit more flexibility and options in terms of what you can do and how you can do things, and yet such a big part of the game. We talk about it from this regard, like third down is literally 2/3 of the game, because you can be awful on first down, awful on second down, win on third down, and you're off the field. And you could be great on first down, great on second down, and lose third down and be on the field all day. And so it's a huge part of the game. We try to treat it that way.
With the amount of second-year guys in your system, does it feel like you can have some more versatility in what you want to do this year as opposed to last year, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as the guys continue to get more and more comfortable with what we're asking, what they're doing, I think we also have a better feel for who's good at what. That helps too. And so it's kind of a two-way street. I think we know what everyone's skill set is, and I think they understand what we're asking of them and what the responsibility is. And so we've been able to probably take things to another level.
And Scooby status update for this week?
Yeah, he'll be day to day.
Coach all the way in the back, Donna.
Coach, going a little bit deeper into Taurean, you've had a relationship with him for a while, having had the opportunity to recruit him as well. Just when did you see those qualities pop up where, you watch him get the defense basically set? I mean, I know obviously he's been a captain since his sophomore year, but did you see that while you were recruiting him as well, that he's able to really keep everybody on the same page?
Yeah, I don't know that you see the football IQ to the level that you do when you have him here. I think what always stood out to me was how he played the game. Like, we watched game film on him, we watched him play the game, and he always played the game really, really well. And so, sometimes production carries from level to level. And I think sometimes people get caught up in the height, weight, speed components of recruiting and what all of that looks like. For Taurean, the production has carried. The same production that he was able to create in high school is the same production he's been able to create in the SEC, and I think that's just a testimony to who he is. Then when you get in the college environment with them, really, and you sit down, you spend time with them, I think that's when you start to really figure out how much of a student in the game he is, how the game kind of slows down for him, and what he's able to do.
And then just on Dezz Ricks, after this past weekend's game, just how have you seen his confidence continue to grow and as he's progressed?
Yeah, it's been awesome to see him mature. I think that's really what's happened. And I think, and I said this at the beginning of the year, I've said this a few times throughout the offseason, we asked a lot of him last year. We were thin in the secondary. We didn't have the depth that we wanted. When we lost Javon Thomas for a really long time from an injury standpoint, it made it really hard. And so he carried, not only a high level of stress playing corner in this league as a redshirt freshman, but also the volume of snaps that we asked him to play. And so I think his body really wore down. And so we thought he was really good for the first half of the year and struggled down the stretch. And it just was really good to see him this offseason just commit to growing and developing and getting better. And then when the kid goes out and gets rewarded for it, I think that only helps his situation.
To the left, fourth row.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
So Bothwell and Booth, their running backs, last weekend combined for like 40 carries for almost 200 yards. When you see that, does it kind of remind you of Notre Dame of facing a couple of running backs that are really talented, but then you got a quarterback that can move around and throw it as well?
Yeah, I just think systematically it's a lot different. And so, yes, from a standpoint of talented, yeah, for sure. They're an extremely talented backfield. We saw that firsthand with Booth last year. He had a really good day against us last year. We didn't see the quarterback. I thought they were a more efficient offense when he was playing quarterback last year. They're certainly a more efficient offense with him at quarterback this year. It's just a different style of offense, and so the plays come at you a little bit differently, and so I don't know that you draw that comparison to Notre Dame. You're featuring a really talented group.
Front right.
David, second row on the right.
Mike, has anything surprised you through 4 games this year, maybe somewhere where you're better along than you expected before the season started?
Probably the defensive line. I think that was one, you never know until you know. And I think we were quietly hopeful. I think you knew that from some of the conversations we had. I think we felt like we were going against a really good SEC offensive line. We felt like we were holding our own. We felt like we would be able to rush the passer. Like we felt like we were going to be able to do some of those things. To see that play out especially in the Notre Dame game and the Auburn game. I think that's probably, I don't know, I would say complete surprise, but probably the biggest positive to take away from what we were. And then the explosive plays on offense. That was such a huge emphasis in the offseason. And so for us to be able to go down and do that, I think that's been really good. Sorry, let's go to Carter next because I didn't mean to cut Carter off.
It's all good.
David raised his hand about 6 times.
Yeah.
You mentioned after the game about sort of the pressures that they were doing on third down that gave you guys some trouble. Was that like a protection call mess up, or what kind of led, do you think, to some of those breakdowns?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was just they had more than we did, and they did a really good job. It was a credit to them. I don't know that we went into the game anticipating some of the looks that we got in terms of sheer numbers. They did a good job of kind of changing some of the rhythm of how they brought some of the pressures. I thought we adjusted as the game went on and had a better feel for it as the game went on. But I think early on, I think they sprung some things on us that maybe we weren't ready for the way we should have been, and that's on me and that's on us as a staff.
And Mario Craver, just his recruitment, what do you kind of remember about it and what it took to kind of land him?
Yeah, a lot of work. Obviously, there was a little bit of a relationship with Coach Wiggins. Coach Wiggins, obviously, being from was in Alabama at the time that Mario was coming out of high school, and so there was that level of familiarity. There was obviously a huge need on our part to get an explosive playmaker. I think that was attractive to him. We were able to get him here and get him in the boat.
To the left, Alex.
You mentioned leading up to the season how much getting Tyreek Chappell back would be a boost to your secondary. Now that you're 4 games in, just what has stood out to you the most about what he's been able to actually provide this secondary?
Yeah, it's been good to see him get healthy. Like, I don't know, a lot of people asked about Le'Veon. Le'Veon probably got back a little bit quicker even than Tyreek did. Just sometimes it plays itself out that way. And so I think Tyreek has still been trying to get healthy, and I think coming out of the bye week, that was the healthiest he's been. And I think he had a really, really good 2 weeks of practice where he felt good, his knee felt good, he felt like he was able to cut and start to kind of grow and develop, and I think that showed Saturday. I think Saturday was probably his most complete game of the year, just from a coverage standpoint against some pretty talented receivers, and what he does is he adds an ability to play slots a lot of different ways, and I think when you have the ability to play different ways on the slot, it gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can do on defense.
And then you mentioned multiple times the need to clean up the penalties. Just how does that practically play out during the week? Is that just classic sprints and up downs, or is there another method to that madness?
All right, so I'll let you guys in. So I've tried all kinds of things. So today what we started was the Texas A&M football coaches Cabo Fund. And so what's going to happen now is every time one of our players gets a penalty, they're going to contribute to the coaches Cabo Fund. And so we'll see if that works.
Front left, Mark.
Just one
You
question.
weren't expecting that one, Mark, were you?
No, that one's hard to follow.
That one caught you off guard a little.
Just how much of a luxury is it to have a healthy Tyreek, have Will Lee, and have Dezz playing at this level? How much more does it open up what you can do defensively?
Yeah, I think it does a lot. I think it allows us to get into some structures where there's less stress on the defensive line. I think one of the balancing acts that maybe not everybody recognizes in this conference is when you play some of the really talented receivers and you don't match up, it forces a lot of what you do on a first and second down basis for your D-line to maybe two gap or try to take away different gaps so you can play short to the run, so you can commit more to coverage. I think the stronger you feel about your secondary cover guys, the more they can get into isolation situations and you can feel comfortable with that, the more that allows the defensive line to be more single gap minded, get on edges, and so I think that whole picture plays together hand in hand. And so, those three kids are playing at a pretty good level right now. If they can continue to do that, I think we have a shot to be pretty decent on defense.
Coach will stay to the left.
We saw Amari Niblack kind of pop for the first time. what's the kind of schematic advantage of having the diversity of skill sets that's in that tight end room?
Yeah, I think it presents a lot of problems for defenses in terms of how they match up with us. And, the way that you would match up with Amari is different than maybe the way you would match up with Nate is maybe different than the way you would match up with Theo. And I just think it puts some stress on a defense to figure out who's in the game and how they want to handle that position. And then there's times where we've got two of them on the field, and I think that creates even more layers to it. And so those three guys have very diverse skill sets. You also saw Mike O'Reilly get in on Saturday a good amount, and I think he's continuing to grow. He was a little bit banged up in camp, and so he's now healthy and had quite a few good weeks of practice now. And so it's good to get him and even adding another dimension to that room.
Coach will stay to the left. Matthew.
Coach, you talked a lot about fans having to get rid of the whole battered Aggie syndrome and fear of losing. How have you seen that transformation with the players, especially closing out a one-score game?
For the record, I never brought any of that up. That was always brought up to me. So I did not get in front of any cameras and talk about any syndromes. Those questions continue to get asked of me, and I provide answers to them. I don't know that I would say that way for our players. What I would say about our players is, and you guys who follow this program know this, it's been a rough go for the kids who have been in this program for 4 years, 3 years. They went through some losing. They went through losing some close games. They went through some heartbreaking losses down the stretch. We certainly experienced our fair share of them last year as well. And so they're learning that they have the ability to control the outcomes of the games, and that's a powerful mindset, right? To know that you can go out there and make the plays that you need to make down the stretch to win football games. And I think every time that happens, it adds a little bit of confidence to what we're capable of doing. And so, it doesn't guarantee you results moving forward for sure, but I think when you get in those situations, you feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more confident that you can get the job done.
Front row, Robert.
Of course, my question is about penalties.
Sure.
I mean, there are good ones, and so my question was going to be, you're going to probably have a few a game. So is there an over-under in your mind, like 4 and 5? Is like, where's your Cabo line where if you go over this, let's say, because you're going to have a few penalties.
Yeah, no, listen, so I think the pre-snap and post-snap ones drive you crazy as a coach. You should have 0 of those. Like, we should never have false starts. We should never have procedure penalties. We certainly shouldn't have things happening after the whistle. Those are all discipline things. Those all fall, and I take those all very personally. Those are on me. Those are the result of a really poorly coached football team. And so that's how I feel about those. I think when you talk about, we used this word last year, like inaction penalties, I think there's times where those are going to come up. There's so many 50-50 situations that kids get into where, one play they get away with something, one play they don't get away with something, and inevitably those things will happen, whether that's a holding penalty, whether that's a defensive holding penalty, something along those lines. I don't know that I have a number, but you kind of evaluate each penalty as you look at it. And, of the 13 that we had on Saturday, I would probably say I was okay with 2 of them. And so, that's not good. That's not where we need to be, and that's not something that I'm comfortable with. And, again, I can sit up here and talk about it, but at the end of the day, I got to get it fixed on the field, and that's my job. And so I'm going to try to get that done.
Back to the right, front row, Travis.
Yeah, one more real quick going back on third downs. You mentioned they're just fun for you. When did that start, and kind of what makes scheming that up so much fun for you?
Probably all the way back to Bowling Green, to be honest with you. And it kind of became a little bit of a game we used to play with, like, how many people did we have to bring to get a free runner at the quarterback? We used to try to find creative ways to, so like you would look and you'd see a lot of teams run 6 or 7 men pressures. And I would always be like, oh, well, that's easy. If we have 7 and they have 6, that's no fun. Let's try to figure out creative ways where we can bring a third guy and see if we can get him free, or a fourth guy and get him free. And I just think you started studying protection, started to kind of find the nuances of how offenses worked. It helped me as a coach being around offensive head coaches. I've spoken a lot about that, but there's just a different way. Obviously, offenses look at offensive football, and so I never really grew up in that defensive culture, defensive mindset, had a defensive mentor, and so I kind of had to figure a lot of stuff out, and I did a lot of it through an offensive lens, and maybe that's where some of it comes from.
Any other questions for Coach?
Awesome. Thank you, guys.